Servers, waiters, waitresses, bartenders, what is the rudest thing a customer has ever done to you? This was not done to me but my co-worker, Alan. He was waiting on a couple at the steak restaurant where we worked. Suddenly, the man stood up and was holding his throat. He was obviously choking. He started turning different colors and was in need of help. Alan began giving him the Heimlich and after several tries some steak popped out and the man could breathe again. It was kind of a big spectacle and the customers and wait staff were shaken for a couple minutes. The wife of the choking man asked Alan to box up the uneaten portion of their meals. There was a crust of Texas toast left on the plate that apparently Alan didn't remember to include in their to-go box. The woman yelled at him for not including it and did not leave a tip. I was working at this one restaurant when this table came in. It was a nice looking family of 4. The parents ordered a sizzling fajita plate for 2. When I bring out the fajitas on the iron skillet plate they were sizzling like they are supposed to be. Well, apparently that wasn't hot enough. They asked me to go back and make them hotter. So I take it back to the kitchen where the kitchen manager decides to pull out a damn blowtorch. Why we needed or had this thing is beyond me. He proceeds to heat the iron skillet up to burning red, then throws the fajitas back on the skillet and sends me back out with them to the table. Well, the father at the table was not very pleased with the profuse amounts of smoke billowing from the plate on his table and decided to throw the thing at me. Luckily he had bad aim. Missed and just broke a window. The manager got his information and was told to get out and we would be contacting him about replacement of the window he broke. You should have filed charges. The cash register where we entered in the food order was situated about 10 feet away from the bathroom. As I'm entering someone's order, this dude walks out of the bathroom, walks up to me, and starts wiping his hands on my arm. "You're out of paper towels," he says, and walks out of the restaurant. I was so shocked I couldn't even say anything before he was gone. Edit. Yeah. I know. I really wish I had punched the guy or something. I was shocked that anyone could do that. I just stood there, mouth agape as he walked out of the restaurant. Also, his kid was there. Consider yourself lucky you weren't out of toilet paper. Punched me in the chest because the restaurant was crowded and his dinner took too long to get to him. I was in college. I was 21 years old and a very thin young woman at the time. I went down like a ton of bricks. Dropped the tray of food I was carrying and wiped out a whole table that some other family was sitting at. Happened so fast I didn't know what happened. Several male customers charged the guy and threw him against a wall. He was arrested. The manager made sure I was okay, small beach bar restaurant, and then set me up at the bar with free drinks. I was in college and working at McDonald's. I had long hair. And the lady called me mom. She had a mustache. And I called her sir. We both just paused, looked at each other, and went on with our days. This caused me to grow a mustache. This caused me to grow a mustache. More stories should end this way. 1. Had an old guy spit out the soup and tell me he had thicker soup in the concentration camp. I worked at a Japanese steakhouse. And the soup is just beef broth meant to cleanse your palate before the meal. 2. Multiple times had the Sunday post-church brunch crowd tell me I was going to hell for working on a Sunday, and it never occurred to them that I wouldn't have to work on Sunday if not for them. And proceed to leave me Bible tracts instead of money as tips. That Bible tract thing is sadly typical. No worse tippers than Sunday morning churchgoers who think you're sinning by helping their dumbasses. I worked in a cafe on the Jersey Shore a few years ago during the summer when the summer people, aka the Guidos from Staten Island, come. One of them, a nice looking woman with a horrible Staten Island accent, came in and asked me about our sandwiches. She wanted to know if they were paninis. I said that we press them on a panini grill. But the bread is just sub bread. Not the kind normally used for a panini. So, it's like a panini? She said. I said yes. And when she got her sandwich, she opened it up and literally threw it at me and started screaming to speak to a manager. When he came out, she told him that I had lied to her and told her it was a panini. And she refused to pay and wanted me fired. The manager just quietly told her to get out of his store. Not necessarily rude, but definitely uncomfortable customer. He's been my customer for about half a year now and has gotten more and more attached to me over time. A few months ago he started watching me for hours at a time as I worked. Finally, he'd walk over to me and tell how beautiful I am and ask about my love life. I decided to transfer to another store when he started asking me to come over to his place for the weekend because he'd be alone. This guy is at least 30 years older than me. When he found out I was leaving, he grabbed my hair and started to cry. Last night was my first night back to that store. This guy went f***ing crazy. He must have sat there smiling at me for half of my shift. My manager knows now and my husband has the business card he gave me. I used to work in a bagel store with some family friends of mine. One of which was this large Italian muscle-tattooed guy. He was a sweetheart. The nicest guy I'd ever meet. But he looked like a badass. Anyway, I was probably 18. And he's a couple years older than me. We're working when we see out the window this couple that we had just given food to arguing outside. We had a single table and a few chairs in front of the store. As we're watching, trying not to interfere, we see the guy reach across the table and slap the girl in the face. I called to my friend and we both jumped across the counter and went outside. I told the guy if he has a problem to solve it quick. And if he ever hit that girl again, we would both kick the living shit out of him. My friend stood behind me with his arm crossed, giving him the death stare. The girl said thank you. The guy left. We let her use the phone and she stayed in the store and ate lunch with us until someone came to pick her up. I don't really have specific stories. But my dad owns a sushi restaurant and occasionally when he's low on people, I'll come in and help out as a server. Since it's a pretty classy joint, there's plenty of really rich folks who come in and know my dad, who is one of the sushi chefs behind the sushi bar. Anyhow, the really rich people are typically super snobby and treat the servers like dirt, while being all chummy with my dad and the other owner chef. I got a good amount of "Hey you, get me more champagne." "No please." "No thank you." Just rude. The most annoying part is that every time my dad mentions that I'm his son, their demeanor does a complete 180 and now all of a sudden I'm their buddy and they've known me forever and they're always so grateful when I get them refills on their F-King champagne. It's like, FCK man. I'm not just my dad's offspring. I'm also a human being, but you wouldn't be able to tell with the way these people treat others. A well-dressed older man and his family came in for lunch on a Sunday morning. They had obviously just gotten out of church. I, cook manager, hear yelling. And I ask if I can help. Him. "I want to speak to your manager." Me. "You're looking at him. What can I do for you?" Him. "This hussy here," points to my waitress, "is giving me lip and cold fries. I want to speak to your manager." Apparently I'm too young looking to be anyone important. So he just blows his top and threatens me. "I'm going to make you wish you'd never been born. You'd better watch your back. Full stop." Alright, buddy. Simmer down. I have my waitress call the cops and throw him out. What a scene. Of course it's with a completely full house and I desperately need to get back to the food I'm cooking. What an asshole. Straight out of church no less. And apparently the family patriarch. Threatening me over cold fries? The fries were fine. By the way, his taste buds probably shriveled with spite over the years. I dated a girl one time that worked at a Red Lobster in a particularly bad part of town. Most of her stories from when they had the endless shrimp were hilarious, as the restaurant would get packed and everyone would be super happy. But after the promo was over, she had some guy come in and try to order it at the promo price. And after telling him that it was over and in fact, they were out of shrimp at the moment, he proceeded to yell repeatedly in increasingly high volume, "I want DASKRIMP. I want DASKRIMP. I want DASKRIMP while spraying spit all over her. In a way that only an obese, poverty-stricken Red Lobster patron could do. I was working at Wendy's during lunch hour. Usually I'd be on grill or fries. But this time I was on sandwiches, not my strong suit. This aggressive young businesswoman ordered a junior burger with onions, pickles, and mustard. Okay. I made that. And I was about to put in the bag when she told me I made it wrong. You said onions, pickles, and mustard, right? That's what I made. No you didn't, you made something different. Look mom. At this point my supervisor walks by, tosses my sandwich in the trash, and rapidly makes an identical sandwich. The lady is satisfied. I learned a lesson. The customer is always right if it's lunch hour and the restaurant is packed. Removed D by HOME Lansec. I was called into work one day because they were so busy and needed help badly. So I went in the clothes I was wearing at home, stupidly not thinking about my nice jeans and shirt. When I arrived, they handed me a fistful of tickets for people who needed drinks and ice cream. I immediately started drilling through the list, getting everything as fast as I could so I could go back home. I took this set of shakes out to a family, and upon giving her the shake she asked for, milky, liquidy shake. Nonetheless, she throws a fit and totally rages. She pulled the lid off the cup and threw the shake all over me. I had caramel, hot fudge, milk and ice cream all over me. I will never do food service ever again because of this woman. And the sad thing is that if you stopped everything and tried to talk to this woman as another human being, saying something like from one human being to another, was that a reasonable response? It would somehow enrage her more. And she would probably try to get you fired. WTF is wrong with these people? My mother threw a shake across a McDonald's counter once. She wanted a small shake for my brother but they were out of small cups. So they put a small shake in a bigger cup, and seeing as my mother is a total psychopath, this warranted throwing it at the people who gave it to her. She also insults every single server's intelligence who serves her, is racist if the situation permits, and is the ultimate living hell of every server. I would like to apologize to all servers and wait staff on behalf of my mother. And she wonders why I don't answer her calls for months at a time. Not a waitress, but I served coffee for 8 years in various establishments, which taught me that coffee is a serious addiction. I began to feel dirty, especially in the morning, because the customers that came in so obviously needed their fix, and were total assholes until the coffee kicked in. Customers that yelled at me at the till would smile and wish me a good day on the way out. TL. Doctor customers are assholes until you give them their drugs. This didn't happen to me, nor did I witness it. But before my current manager worked at my restaurant, he worked at steakhouse or something. Anyway, one day a few people came in to eat and didn't pay. This obviously happens relatively often. But anyway, the waitress, not wanting to have to pay the bill herself, went outside to chase the customers down. But they were in their car already and sped off, hitting her and killing her. To this day he gets mad at us if we try to chase down any customers. Edit. A family of 5 came into the chain Italian restaurant where I worked while in college. After appetizers, some wine and food, they had a relatively hefty bill for this place. Anyway, close bracket. When I brought the bill, the wife took it and paid in cash, leaving me a tip of $3 and some change on her $80 bill. The service was good, so I was pretty angry about the tip. A minute later I noticed the husband and kids standing by the front door, waiting for the wife to use the restroom. I walked up to the man and said, "Excuse me sir, you forgot your change," and held out the $3. The husband looked at me, says, "Is that all that bitch left you?" He then reached in his pocket, pulled out $30 and said, "There you go. Sorry about that." TL. DR. Wife left me a shitty tip. Husband called her a bitch. Hooked me up. Not exactly relevant. But this bank president used to take prospective VP or director hires for lunch and would surreptitiously ask the martretti to screw up his hires order just to check his reaction. If the guy was reasonable about it, he was hired. But not if he was a total douchebag. I was a waitress at a Thai restaurant, but I was born and raised in the US. This old lady wasn't my customer, but she flagged me over to her table to complain about her disgusting dinner, but she still managed to eat 99% of the food on her plate and yelled at me for not speaking American good. At another restaurant, I had a group of smart-ass black high schoolers come in. One walks right up to me and says, "Hello, I want free rice and mugu gay pan," or some shitty like that. I glare at him for a good minute before wildly crossing my arms, throwing up East Coast West Coast signs, and replying, "Yo dog. Sup homie. Wit what you wanna eat? Oh. And ching chang chong or whatever." His friends started laughing, but the little cockstain just walked out the door. I once had a lady call me as a manager of a popular restaurant and tell me she wouldn't be back because she was served by a darkie. Her waitress was Chilean. F-king people. I work at a pizza pasta place and I was serving a 20-something couple. The girl got really excited about what's probably our greasiest, meatiest pizza and started to order a slice. But before the words were halfway out of her mouth, her boyfriend had grabbed her arm and jerked her to face him, yelling that women only eat pasta and salads in public, and he would not be seen with a dyke. Not rude to me, I suppose, but absolutely terrible. If I catch a fellow customer being unruly irrational, I will usually proceed to step in and swear or say to them what the cashier is really thinking and would be fired for saying. It usually draws the attention away from the, now, miserable employee and puts the anger-prone customer's attention on me. I proceed to ignore them, take my place in line, and get served with smiles by the awaiting cashier, who is usually grateful someone gave the customer a reality check. Edit. I wish more people would do this for others, especially me when I am behind the counter. After cutting off a drunker chat, he reached behind the bar while I was serving someone else. When I turned around again, he stabbed me with my own winner key. I was waiting tables at a popular steakhouse in the south when a six-top was seated in my section. There was an older couple sitting nearest me and two younger couples. I got everyone's order, and when I was taking the older gentleman's order, he requested an 8-ounce prime rib. I asked him how he would like it cooked and he stated, "I want it your color." His wife gleefully laughed as if it was the joke of the century, but I was taken a bit aback. My immediate response was, "So you don't want any pink on it?" I informed my manager of this racist remark and he asked if I wanted to kick them all out. I told him that I would bite the bullet this time, but I wasn't too happy to be serving anyone that would think that was an acceptable answer. I believe they knew they offended me because they ended up leaving me a 30% tip and their tab was over $100. I still felt a little dirty when I smiled at them, but I know taking the high road was the best road in this case. A few years ago I worked as a game stall attendant at an amusement park. One day, while I was working at a game where you threw balls at clown faces to score points, a middle-aged dad walks up to the counter with his 5-year-old and asks if there are any S behind the clown faces or if there are any clowns he could throw at. He then made a motion toward the kid and clearly expected me to somehow answer positively. When I didn't really answer, he tried to keep a conversation with me about how it would be better if you could throw at S because they deserved it. I'm ashamed to admit it, but I mostly ignored him to avoid causing a scene. I clearly stated that I disagreed with him though. Poor kid. Growing up with a dad like that. This was in Scandinavia. Open racism like this is really frowned upon, and I've rarely encountered it from strangers. I guess it's not the rudest thing in the world. At game stalls you get rather immune to people being rude and insulting you when they lose, but the racism kinda threw me. I was standing in front of the table, taking their order, and a drunk guy sitting closest to me reached out and grabbed my boob. I dashed away from the table looking for my manager, who I found moments later listening to the drunk guy complain about how I wasn't friendly. OMG dude. I am so sorry. I worked at a bagel shop for about 4 years. Had to deal with the typical douchebags complaining coffee was not hot enough or service was not fast enough when there was 2 of us working and a line about 12 people long at 5 a.m. But I also had some of the best customers, and when they were nice I would hook them up. Free lunches. Free coffee every morning. Have their order ready when I saw them pull up. I used to come to work and find they had flowers delivered to me. Small gift sect. One of them even gave me a 500 tip when I told them I was going to visit Korea.